Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to discuss, to give you a behind the scenes look of what happened on Sunday at the Oscars from Will Packer's perspective. Now, Will Packer is huge in Black Hollywood, okay? He was asked to produce the Oscars. He had an all Black production crew, so shout out to him. And he sat down with TJ Holmes this morning on Good Morning America to discuss everything that went down from his point of view as the producer of the show. And the reason why I highlight this and I want to give you guys this update is because it's so rare that we have, Black male talent in front of the camera as well as behind the scenes, behind the camera as well, right? He was the production or the producer of the Oscars. This was his first time ever being asked to produce the Oscars, and my hope and my prayer is that he's able to come back and do it again, despite what happened between Will and Chris. So, yeah, Will Packer sits down this morning with TJ Holmes, and TJ Holmes, comes out the gate and asks him about, to give his take on what happened. And so, he says that the LAPD basically right after Will smacked Chris across the face, that the LAPD made it clear to Will Packer, we'll do whatever you want us to do. One of the options is, we'll go and arrest Will Smith right now. So, um, you know, Will Packer goes on to talk about how he knew that Chris Rock was a consummate professional, that nobody was gonna do it better. But when Chris Rock told that joke about Jada, and then Will, walked up and slapped him, came back, he said his stomach just dropped. He said once he heard Will yelling and screaming, he's like, oh, no, 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 not like this. He said he had his production crew in his ear. He said everybody was kind of going crazy, like, what's going on with camera two? Is he still up there? Are we still doing the best documentary category? And he said that Chris Rock just kept a level head when everyone else was losing theirs. Um, Will Packer goes on to say, but my heart at that point was just in my stomach. He said because of everything around it, what it represented, what it looked like, who was involved. He said, I've never felt so immediately devastated like I did in that moment. Initially, Will Packer goes on to say that he thought it was a bit. He thought it was staged like everybody else. I know, y'all. I just a quick moment here, diverting from the interview with Will Packer and TJ Holmes. But on a personal note, when I first saw that, y'all, I can't lie. I thought it was staged too because Will Smith and Chris Rock, they're both comedians, and not only just comedians, but they're both physical comedians. You know what I mean? Like they both had, sitcoms, and they're both, seasoned vets in this game. So, and they're both, like really silly. I really thought when I first saw it that they were joking and they were playing, they were horsing around, as guys do. And it wasn't until Will Smith walked back to his seat and cussed Chris Rock out twice. Okay. Not once, but twice. And he said, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. That's when I knew, okay, yeah, this is serious. And Will Smith he's not playing games. So anyway, yeah, going back to Will Packer's interview with TJ Holmes, because I want to give you guys his perspective. So he goes on to say that, he was devastated at that moment. The LAPD was asking him, what do you want us to do? So Will Packer goes to talk to Chris Rock, right? So he says, Chris, what do you want to do? And Chris Rock, he said that he immediately went into joke mode. He started joking about the whole situation. And of course, with comedians going into joke mode, is a defense mechanism. But Packer, he said, did Will really hit you? And, Chris Rock was talking about how he had just got hit by Muhammad Ali, because y'all know that Will Smith played Muhammad Ali in his movie Ali, which I feel like he should have won an Oscar for that as well. But nevertheless, so yeah, so he said, I just took a punch from Muhammad Ali, but Will Packer said he could tell that Chris Rock was still very much in shock about the whole situation, which is understandable. So Chris Rock says no. I don't want Will Smith arrested. I don't want to make a bad situation worse, right? So he says that he wanted to continue on with the show. He ended up giving you know the Oscar to Questlove, which was huge. Another black man, talented musician, and he ended up giving him the Oscar for Best Documentary, Summer of Soul. If you guys haven't seen that, check it out. It's amazing. And Chris Rock kept the show going, and Will Packer did as well. So Will Packer ended up going backstage to talk to the Academy Board of Directors, and he asked them, what do you guys want to do? He told them, he basically conveyed Chris Rock's wishes, right? Which Chris Rock said, I do not want to make a bad situation worse. I do not want to have, Will Smith arrested. I want to just keep the show moving, right? Just keep progressing. And I'm sure, Will Packer, he says, he was grateful for that. And, you know, that puts to rest the I guess the misrepresentation that some people have about the Academy asking Will to leave and him refusing. Will Packer says that they wanted to respect Chris Rock's wishes, which is what they did. Um, and I commend Chris, I really do, because I know it takes a big man um, to take that blow. To take that blow to the face, that hit directly to his face, and to keep the show moving. I don't know if I could have been so gracious in that moment, but I will say that I remember watching The View earlier. I love Chelsea Clinton. I actually met her in the airport in Atlanta, but they were discussing the situation in the aftermath. And, she said, how often is it that an altercation happens between two black men and the LAPD is like, oh, well, what do you want us to do? And sarcastically, and Joy Behar goes, it's rare. Chelsea's like, of course it's rare. So I think that speaks to definitely the privileged position that these two black men are in, which is wonderful to see. Um, I have to say that I wish, more of us were extended that same grace. But I commend Will Packer for continuing on with the show. I commend Chris Rock for, not wanting to throw Will Smith in jail and, want to keep things moving. Like he said, not wanting to make a bad situation worse, because it could have been a lot worse than it was. But I commend both of these professional men. Like I said, with Will, I extend that grace to him. I understand that all of us are human. We all, make mistakes. None of us are perfect. I know I'm far from perfect. And that's what Will Packer and Chris Rock did, in that moment. They extended grace to Will Smith, who was going through, whatever he was going through. It doesn't take away from the fact that he has had such a wonderful, a 3 decades plus long career, you know, commending or entertaining us. This is what Will Packer says. He gives a different perspective regarding Will Smith winning his first ever Academy Award for King Richard. He says, regarding the standing ovation that people gave Will Smith. Will Packer says, I was in the room and I know a lot of those people. So it wasn't like they didn't know somebody that, it says, it doesn't make anything that he did right. It doesn't excuse his behavior at all. But I think the people in that room that stood up, they stood up for somebody that they knew, who was a peer, who was a friend, who was a brother, who has had a 3 decades plus long career of being the opposite of what we saw in that moment. I don't think that those were people plotting anything at all about that moment. All these people saw was that their friend was at his absolute worst moment, and they were hoping that they could encourage him and lift him up and somehow try to make it better. I love that. Will Packer, bravo to you. That's exactly what I just said, right? Will Smith has had over a 3 decades plus long career entertaining us, having this pristine image. And it's unfortunate that his worst moment was in front of, you know, millions of people on an international world stage at such a Hollywood elite event, right? So that doesn't make him any less human, because what ended up happening afterward was Will Smith did show remorse. He was tearful, and he apologized to the Academy. He apologized to his fellow nominees. The very next day, he apologized directly to Chris Rock, and he Will Smith and Will Packer talk backstage, and Will Packer goes on to say, Will Smith apologized to him, and Will Packer says, this should have been a gigantic moment for you. He expresses an embarrassment, and that was the extent of it. So, like I said, I commend, all three men um, for protecting each other in that moment, with the exception of, Will Smith losing his cool. Um, I really commend Chris Rock and Will Packer for protecting him, because it's rare that something like that happens. And especially seeing how all these other celebrities are really turning on Will Smith. I mean, with the quickness. Um, they're calling him, a thug and this and that, but yet their own laundry is being aired out because they're throwing stones from glass houses. Um, it's sad, like Wanda Sykes. She goes on Ellen DeGeneres in an interview that's going to air on April 7th, and we'll talk about that when it comes out. But she says, she was sickened and she's traumatized, and that she said that Will Smith should have been escorted out, and Wanda Sykes is, entitled to her feelings. But if that's not what Chris Rock wanted, if that's not what Will Packer wanted as the producer, then I'm glad that they let him stay. You know what I mean? So Will Packer says, Chris handled the moment with such grace and aplomb, it allowed the show to continue. And because Chris continued the way that he did, he completed the category. He handed the trophy to Questlove, who I feel was really robbed of his moment. It gave us license in a way to continue the show, which is what we were trying to do. It was such a huge moment, such a sad and disappointing moment, that it wasn't something that we were going to come back from within that night, within the week. I don't know if we'll come back and people will be talking about anything now other than that punch and not the show. So, again, I commend Will Packer for his hard work. I hope that he continues on to do great things. I commend Chris Rock for keeping his cool, courage under fire. And I really hope that the lesson in all of this is to extend grace to those who need it. Will Smith needed it in that moment. And Chris Rock is being rewarded for being a class act. His ticket sales are through the roof. They used to be, I think, $41. Now they're like $341. And Will Packer did a phenomenal job producing the Oscars. It was live television. Anything can happen live. And yeah, thank you guys for rocking with me. Continue to protect each other, Black people. Love each other. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I will talk with you soon. Bye.